Hi, Brian here, welcome back to the Angels. So this month, rather than buying something that's model railway related on my model railway budget that I have every month, I decided that this was the original airbrush that I'd got. This airbrush is okay. It's one of those double action jobs. Comes with a little cup that went on the side, which is quite good. Didn't really use that much, and obviously we've got the fact that it's a side fill. This would go in here as well. So this was the airbrush I had. I've used it quite a bit. You've seen some of the stuff I've done on it. One of the best things I've done with that was the Iron Maiden Spitfire from a friend, and I spray painted that. That worked out quite well. But this brush hasn't really run very well for a while now, and I've cleaned it, and I've changed the needles, and I've done all sorts to it, and it's just a slightly inferior product. It's not, it came with a compressor that I bought. I was mainly after the compressor, so not going to get binned. We'll still use it in some way, shape or form, but due to the fact that on Angel's Ridge there's going to be a good few livery changes of certain freight stock and locomotives where I'm going to respray them, and I want to put on Angel's Ridge Railroad Company logos and text on them. So I got myself this Harder and Steenbeck. This is the Ultra. Basically this is like the entry level of airbrushes for Harder and Steenbeck. And there she blows. Now this came in at a very good price. I managed to get this with the 2mm nozzle and 4mm, as well as, so there's the 4mm nozzle in there, needle to go with it, as well as a 5mm cup and the 2mm cup. And to go with them, I also got the little cup caps that go on top, and this is far superior to the one that I just got. And I believe if you're going to commit to something after a period of time, and you know that you're going to do something more than a few times, then getting the right equipment is important. And part of the right equipment is obviously getting something as good as a Harder and Steenbeck made in Germany airbrush. This thing is solid. It just feels really well crafted. The mechanism and everything on it is just far superior. Also has one of the quick release nozzles. You can get an adapter that will go in there that gives you quick release from the air gun, so I'll probably get an adapter at some point. But just now I can use it basically by just screwing the air hose straight on the end here. So yeah, this will be my weapon of choice when it comes to rebranding locals and freight stock on Angel's Ridge. Harder and Steenbeck Ultra, all that for under 100 quid. It really is a bargain. You don't have to go mad when you're buying quality, just get quality. That's what I would recommend. So yeah, this is this month's purchase. Very happy with it too. You will see work and spray painting that I do with this, weathering and re-delivering locals and freight stock. So yeah, very happy camper. Let's put that away and we'll show you what we're doing on the rest of the layout. I'll show you what I've been up to the past few days with this, and basically why I've done this kind of approach on building the mountain bike scene for Angel's Ridge Model Railway. It really is down to the fact that either using chicken wire or lattice cardboard it just didn't seem that it would be easy enough for me to remove and put off and on the layout. These seemed like more fixed in situations, like they would be rooted permanently on the layout if I'd went that route, whereas this route makes it removable. So let's go back to start and I'll show you what I've been up to. Thanks again. So here we can see the track work has been weathered and the rails have been painted. The ties, sleepers have had various shades and different coats of browns and greys added to it. And I believe that doing this part is kind of essential before actually going on and putting ballast down, just due to the fact that I've done it before. When you put the ballast down, then you've got to start painting it. There's a little bit of ballast in here, and when you paint round about it, the ballast ends up picking up the colours from the sleepers and whatnot. So as I said, trying to add quite a few realistic elements in this, and painting the rails and the sleepers, and even going in and painting all round through the points with different rust tones, a kind of dark rust and a medium rust with a little bit of light brown here and there to help add some realism to the rails and the track. Also doing the ground throws, giving them a little wash of rust. They will get some more painting and finishing details, all of it by hand. I don't think I'll use the airbrush much on this due to the fact that it's small, and being small means that I can concentrate on the finer details and take my time and to create some unique elements, so that every square inch of this layout will have some form of detail and some sort of attention paid to it. So here we are looking at the scenery side of the layout for Angel's Ridge. Now, Angel's Ridge in certain aspects is based on Maple Mountain in Ontario. I think it's the highest peak. Not that there was a logging layout there or anything like that. This is all fictional, and this is take some influences from the area and then kind of give it a sense of realism and kind of how it would maybe look, but totally fictional as far as the area in existence goes. And I think it's called Ispatina Ridge is the actual name of the mountain. So Angel's Ridge is kind of where the idea came from, and hence basing it in Ontario, Canada. So looking at this part here, I'll insert some pictures to show you the basic plan idea of the mountain backdrop. Now you can get an idea from those pictures and from the way I've laid it out that on either side of the layout at the back there are two tunnel entrances where the train will pass through and come out of. Now those tunnel entrances will be built as separate pieces of scenery. They'll kind of form the edge side of the mountain on either side, and I will put magnets in the board and some screws or something metal at the bottom of this polystyrene mould that I make in order to put them out of the tunnel at that end of the mountain, and that it makes it all removable. The same on the right hand side. Also the fact that this ridge here I'm going to be building up using polystyrene. I initially started using a coping saw cutting the polystyrene, but the mess that it left was phenomenal. So I've ordered myself a little cheap kind of hot polystyrene wire cutter. I've got one of them coming which will help kind of slice through that. I've got over 50 pieces to cut, so I just thought the amount of mess would be too much for the family to put up with. So what we're looking at doing here is building up using multiple layers of polystyrene until we have large sheets of polystyrene here. We've got plenty of these stuff here. So basically I think it's about 8-10 sheets high. That's what we're looking at doing down here. And as we build this area up and we get the shape and the form in, it'll be in two halves, and again we'll put some magnets in. So I'll get the camera over, I'll show you this space and I'll show you where I've put the magnets in. So this is the tunnel area I'm talking about. On this side here you can see that the trains will pass through the tunnel as the track is marked. It's about 3 layers of polystyrene, and the 4th layer can go over and then create the mountain as it builds up here. This kind of design here is to help the fact that when the train comes in there's some sort of blocking view that kind of shows the train disappearing and not just having it coming straight out round this way. I wanted a little finger of the mountain coming out and suggest where the tunnel's kind of been carved starting from there, and some of the rockwork's been removed in order to access that tunnel. Now as we move down here, we can see where I've placed the magnets. Now all I need to do is put little metal screws in the same position on the underside of the polystyrene or a metal plate or something, and that means that then I can remove the scenery. This here is the back area where the scenery will basically form the wall coming up. As we move along, you can see the blue pen marks showing you exactly. Using some of this bandage to cover it all and help shape it, as well as some rock moulds and some plaster carving. So we can see here 4 pieces of polystyrene cut to shape, and now we're working on the tunnel entrance here and checking, oops, sorry about that, and checking that we can see there we go. You can see that that's running through there quite nice, nothing will clip that. So obviously all this will be done in such a way that it will be solid and kept in place. The fact that it's coming up 8 high will bring it obviously up to about here, which will give it a nice backdrop. For the town, I always have a little person on hand and some scenery to give me an idea of size. So you can see that little guy, and he's going to be looking up. It's going to be quite a big mountain backdrop behind him with rock faces and foliage built into it as well. Now the other idea I had is, once I'd built it up to a certain height, I'll lift this up. So say that's how high it's going to be. Now it'll be shaped and carved so that it's also sloping as well. It's not going to be a sheer face all the way up. But what it does is, if we show you around the back, is the gap where the train will run through. Now what I was thinking of doing was, along this wall here behind the backdrop, was putting a shelf that will come out the same distance from the wall to the back of the mountain scene, and have the shelf lower than the top height of the mountain scene, and then on that shelf create some more little kind of mountain peaks, or put some smaller trees in to show some sort of depth. So you'll have the mountain back scene here, and then there'll be a little shelf just lower behind it with more scenery on it, and that will give you an idea of kind of depth. And on that shelf then I'll have another back scene for the sky, so the back scene doesn't need to go all the way down here. No point having a sky back scene here when it's all blocked by a mountain. It only realistically needs to be up here. So that's my idea for the back scene and how to create the mountain scene for Angel's Ridge. Please stay tuned as I progress on this, and I'll show you the next few stages. So in this area here, we're going to be using some Das clay. I'm going to be putting it down, laying out the roads as the initial stage of creating landforms on the base of this. While I wait for my piece of kit to arrive to cut the rest of this, I'm going to carry on and start putting in the Das clay as my idea for laying out roads in certain areas that will add a little bit of undulation to the landform. So using the terracotta das clay, a little bit of water and PVA glue, that's me starting to kind of put in the basic road surfaces for where vehicles will travel, trying to raise up different areas on the layout. Lovely bright orange. If we go down, you can have a look here at the crossing. This tape signifies where it's going on to the front scenic flap, so the road will carry on onto the scenic flap and so on, so it ties the front flap to the layout. So there's that little road there, and then we got this one here. So as you've seen, I've checked freight stock running through that and it's clearing it okay. So the road will carry on further on, but so far that's all the das clay I had left in that one, so I'll need to dig out another pack I've hidden somewhere and carry on doing the roads. This bit of road here is for where there'll be this is a diesel fuel filling area, so there will be kind of trucks and vehicles coming in and out this area here. Over there will be the engine shed, so once I get that in place there will be a road coming off here, possibly marking out a parking area. But again, I just want to create some depth so you can see how that road's raised up. And obviously with the cork underlay as well, it's raising the track up in the profile, but I don't want to fill it all with das clay. I want it, as I said, the layout kind of poking up, as it were. It was always my idea to have a higher piece of cork under here to have the track raised up and then kind of work the landform underneath it without cutting any holes in the baseboard to give me some sort of kind of depth, hence the mountain scene at the back. And then the front flap will sit a little bit lower where there'll be scenery on it as well. So that's where we are so far. So as you can see, the modelling clay has dried really nicely, nice and tough. So that'll get a lot of groundwork on it and dirt and foliage and all that sort of stuff, but the main thing we've been working on is Angel's Ridge mountain backdrop. And you can see here that it's fairly taken shape, putting in pieces of polystyrene to help form the shape and the body of it, and to keep it light as well, because this will be in 4 separate parts that will be able to be removed, but each part will be disguised. The join will, as far as scenery or whatever, will help disguise the joins. But yeah, I want to have these in 4 separate parts. I'll make them in 4 separate parts, and you can see the advantage of the finger coming out, the shape of the land, before we go into the tunnel. So you can see that the tunnel looks quite cool there. Even when we get the wooden framed entrance round it and all the rock work, that should look quite impressive. Now moving round to the other end, we have 2 wagons here. Well, a gondola and a freight wagon. So if I roll these through, they will disappear into the tunnel. So you can see my idea behind creating this form, this landscape, makes it look 3D. And when I get the rest of my modelling clay, we'll have the rest of the roads laid out. I'll do some templates to kind of give me an idea of where the buildings and industries will go, and then that'll let me know where I'm putting paths and how I'm going to create all the road work using the das modelling clay and building the scenery up as I go. But yeah, I think you'll agree, this mountain face, or side of a mountain as it were, should look quite impressive. I still have my shelf to go at the back that I want to create some scenery on. And if we grab the scale ruler, we'll see that it's sitting about 90 feet. So that's quite impressive, especially if you're that little guy there and you've got that as your mountain backdrop. So yeah, it should make for an impressive scene. Let me move over, excuse the shadows. But if I give you an overall view, you can see that it is just an itty bitty roundy layout in my living room. But I'll do my very best to make it look huge. So there we go. Work will continue and I'll keep you updated as I go. Thanks again for watching.